just smoked it out of the water. Holy crap, man, I wasn't prepared for such a difference. I still thought that plugins are superior to real amps for modern tones because they contain the dynamics so well and they are to be shaped as precisely as we want to, but man, this is a good indication of what real gear does to your tones. Check this out. Fortin Nameless, the legendary, one of the most used neural DSP plugins. Why has Fortin gained widespread popularity lately? Because it is designed to fit the low-tuned guitars, which form the core of the modern metal genre. And how so? Because Fortin Nameless is modeled after the Fortin Meshuggah amp, which in turn is a heavily modified Marshall Plexi. Makes perfect sense, right? After all, Meshuggah were the ones who started it all. And of course, the most popular plugin is the one that I don't own and don't often use, because I try to stand out and that often gets me in trouble. However, I do have my custom audio amplifiers amp, and despite being virtually unknown, CAA is a boutique amp that is also based on a heavily modified Marshall schematics with a Plexi transformer in it. Therefore, I want to try something with you today since I got one Marshall-based amp with a Plexi transformer. I want to challenge myself and make my CAA sound as close to Fortin as possible, or maybe even exceed its quality. Will I succeed? Let's find out. Yo, I'm Dr. Trubetskov and I've hurt my throat in the gym because I trained so hard. But I'm still here to deliver this video for you because I think it's really bloody exciting. So mate, just like and subscribe at least for my efforts, huh? Let's go. There isn't much to say about dialing in the tone with the Fortin, because firstly, I'm still in the process of learning creating the modern metal tones, and I encourage us to learn together. I'm not an expert of this still yet, but secondly, these principles are mainly what Buster is developing, and I really do not feel right to talk about it because he is the expert. He is the modern metal soul god, really, and I admire all that he does, and I just wanna follow this and learn together with you. So let's do that. These principles involve EQing the DI into the ape and shaping the tone before the amp so that the distortion reacts to the DI correctly, and then using tube screamer and shaping the tone with the tube screamer, as well as EQing the IR itself then afterwards to shape the tone even furthermore. So let's see what we can do together based on these principles, right? So this is the cover Ghost Iris, which I performed and slightly modified the mix for, and let's just take a listen. I like the song, it's funky. Let's look into the creation of these tones for guitars specifically. By the way, you guys please let me know in the comment section whether this is a decent modern metal tone, because as I said before, I'm still learning this. Maybe let's solo one of the guitars, put it in the center. Here is the chain that I used, and this involves using a tube screamer, the infamous TSC 808, into an EQ that shapes the DI accordingly to what Buster does, then using the Fortin with these settings here, and I'll go through this in a moment, and then using Buster's OCN or IR, and then shaping this even further. So let's listen to the track with these EQs bypassed first. So we only have tube screamer, the amp, and the cab. We do not shape the DI into the amp when this EQ is bypassed. Let's take a listen. So when I applied this EQ, I cleaned up the low-mid build-up before the amp, which allows the amp to react to the DI in a smoother way, and it doesn't build these lower mids furthermore, which is very important for such low-tuned guitars. I also cleaned up some of the scratchy 2K, and then I added more low-end for more glued low-end consistency. Did this exactly the way the Buster does it. And then, after the amp, I cleaned the built-up low-end as well. It does have a little bit of a scratchy character, which I don't like, but unfortunately I have to attribute this to the guitar that I'm using. It's not a very expensive instrument. And lastly, let's look into the settings of the Fortin itself. Pretty basic, but this gives this tone. So if you like this tone, let me know what you think. On the bass, there's a very annoying 3.2K resonance, which you can just notch out this way, and it sounds much better. But essentially that's it for creation of this tone. There's a little bit of a multiband compression for the chugs. Pretty standard stuff, I'm sure you know this. And then some tape saturation. Nothing fancy here really. So now let's dive into dialing in the amp, shall we? Now, I do know my CAA fairly well. It is a versatile amp with a unique top end and open dynamics. It isn't that compressed, so it needs a good boost, and it doesn't have this much gain either. Feedback and presence on the back of the amp make a huge difference, and unfortunately the low end of the amp can be really flabby, which is critical for our test today with the low-tuned guitars. I'll use my Dirty Tree boost, which cuts a good chunk of low end from the DI and EQ the DI accordingly as well, and I guess we'll see how we go. Firstly, I want to put the same IR, which is Oceano IR. This sounds really bad. Compare it with the Fortin. The worst thing is the build-up of the low end. So, first thing first, I want to dial in the settings on the amp. You can hear how much of a difference this Dirty Tree made. I spent a good chunk of time trying to dial in the amp as best as I could, and this is as best as it gets on the amp itself. After all, still, this is not good at all. Listen to the amp. And now the Fortin. Fortin is much brighter and much more contained. CAA is boomy as hell. However, there is no processing here at all yet, and we did not shape the DI into the amp. So this is the key thing that we need to do in order to make CAA work, because I can already tell that the upper mid and top end character is pretty sick. It has that rich sort of sparkle, which I really appreciate. So let's see if we can get this to the right territory, right? Let's shape this DI into the amp. This is an improvement, yet it's not there yet. I wanna try clipping the DI with a Novaclip. Let's see what this does. Okay, let's shape the tone after the IR. And the interesting thing here is that we're using the same IR, and Fortin gives so much of harsh resonances, whereas the real amp gives none. I don't really need to notch anything, surprisingly. I'm surprised with this a lot. Compare the current tone with the Fortin. I like it. Keeps better now. The character is so much richer in those mids, and it's just thicker and it's more exciting. Let's get going. Let's keep going. I've reamped the two DIs with CAA, and now we are on to final processing on the bus. Let's do this. I mean, it sounds really good straight away, but there is a bit of a build-up of the mid-range now, and it can mask other instruments in the mix, as well as the tone could be a bit brighter. Take care of those things. Compare it with the Fortin now. Hopefully same level. Dude, this is like a joke. Alright, let's do the mix now, man. How would this sound in the mix? This is Fortin. And this is custom audio amplifiers. I think custom audio amplifiers blew Fortin out of the water without any doubt. It sounds richer, bigger, smoother, fatter, and more exciting. Now, it's not perfect because I haven't mixed it. I've been doing it with you on this spot here right now. But overall, I'm so happy with how this turned out. I'm really keen to hear what you guys think, because this is really important to me, and this really warms my heart. We are in the digital age, plugins become better and more accessible, and we're all so keen to use them all the time. And unfortunately, we do end up sounding similar to other artists who use the same plugins. But this is a testament to real gear, and this shows what it is capable of and why we still use real amps, but with a combination of the modern approach and modern technique. And if I'm completely, out of my mind and saying things that do not work, let me know in comments. But I don't think it's the case really, man. I don't think so. So this just made me so happy. Let me know what you think.